The Godfather.
This that. This that. This that jumpin', yeah. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around smoking my trees. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around smoking my trees. I be ballin' in music like Kobe. I'm the greatest to ever do it, they don't know it. Straight from the streets where the shots came blowin'. I came from the bottom where they hate to see you blow. Mama always told me I'ma shine so I glow. I came from the block where I stood 10 toes. Came a long way, now I'm on the top floor.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another Turtles Take here on 1252 Sports Chicago. We got a big show lined up for everybody. Thank you for joining us. Here at 7:15, we have newly signed UFC Heavyweight Lorenzo Hood joining the show to talk about that and his upcoming fight and a little bit more. We got a lot of sports topics to discuss tonight. Vince, how we doing tonight?
Man, I'm good. Tarbo, how you doing?
Doing well, man. Been a long week. Ready to get this show on the road, have our guests come on. It's going to be a good show. We got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of topics to cover, and it's going to be a good one, man. How's the week been for you?
You know, it seems like forever ago that, you know, we had the Fat Mike live show down at Nick and Ivy in Lockport, and it just seems like, I know it's only been a week, but man, with no Fat Mike on Wednesday because we had it on Sunday, it felt like the week took forever, and you know, but it's finally here. It's finally Friday. You know, the weekend's here. It's time for another Turtles Take. A lot of cool shit going on in not only Chicago sports but around the country. So we're gonna go over some of that. And like you said, we got Lorenzo Hood on. We'll talk some MMA with him and some UFC and all the exciting stuff going on with that. And I'm just excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you touched on that live show that Fat Mike had this past Sunday out there at Nick and Ivy. Can see you got your Nick and Ivy swag on tonight. I've got that Nick and Ivy hat on, man. If you guys have a chance to get out to Nick and Ivy in Lockport, beautiful place, man. Great beers.
Man, killer beers.
I had to sample pretty much, I don't want to say all of them because they got quite the tap list, but I sampled quite a few of them while we were out there, and it was a great time.
I said next time I'm going to do the flights. I'm going to do the flights and knock a couple of them out at one time and then not have to worry about trying to try them all out later.
Oh, for sure. It was a great show out there. But, yeah, we got a lot going on here, not only, like you said, in Chicago, but a lot going on nationally in the media right now. How are you feeling about some of the trades that are being made here in football overall? I mean, we just saw today that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Ravens made kind of a splash of a trade, I would say, if you're into offensive line.
You know, I've been on this show since we started it. I've been yelling that I thought Orlando Brown was the guy to go get. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I see on the chats, a lot of people even say, oh, you can't give up your first-round pick. Pace couldn't afford to give up his first-round pick. I mean, if you're going to draft a tackle at 20, why not go get a 24-year-old that you know is a Pro Bowl left tackle? I mean, I just don't. And then, you know, I know they gave up other stuff, but, you know, they gave up a third and a fourth, but they got a second back. So it's like now you with your first round pick, which especially for Kansas City, you're picking 31st. So now instead of picking 31st, basically at 31, you get Orlando Brown Jr., and then you get 2 second-round picks. So I might like Orlando Brown and 2 second-round picks more than I like 31st overall and then a 31st overall in the second, third, and fourth rounds.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong, as deep as this class is with offensive line, like you said, you go after a guy like Orlando Brown Jr., he's still relatively young, only 24 years old, and I mean, not only him, but the moves that they have made over there in Kansas City, they've really put up, I would say, a brick wall type line around Patrick Mahomes. And with the things that he's been able to do with the lack of a good line, I think it'll be real interesting to see what his potential is with a good line around him.
Well, yeah, they have, I forget his name, but they drafted him last year to be on their line, and he wound up opting out to go work in the hospitals to fight COVID. But he's going to be back, and now they added Kyle Long and Joe Tunney, and now you got Orlando Brown Jr. added to the mix. I mean, it's really going from offensive line being a weakness to now it's one of their strengths. And now you got Patrick Mahomes back there. I just feel like it's definitely the AFC is theirs to lose again.
Oh, absolutely do agree with that. I mean, although you did bring up one guy, Kyle Long, and, being a Bears fan, distinctively, I just immediately go to, okay, he took some time off to get healthy. Is he going to be healthy for a full 17 game season now? As weird as that is to say,
right?
Is his body going to hold up? Because that was always an issue in Chicago. Don't get me wrong. You got elite play out of the guy when he was healthy, but his last few seasons there in Chicago, he was hurt more than he was healthy. And you can't rely on a guy like that. You can't pay a guy like that big money. And obviously it didn't work out with him and the Bears. In his off time, he was very vocal about his disliking of the coaching staff. Of course, I mean, we all saw that. It was a national narrative. But, at the same time, you talk an awful lot for a guy that wasn't consistently healthy those last few seasons in Chicago. So,
yeah, I mean,
obviously he's on a prove-it deal out there in Kansas City, incentive heavy, and we'll see what he does. If he's average at best with the other guys around him, he'll be just fine. But, if Kansas City makes a deep run into the playoffs this coming season, nobody's going to say it was because of Kyle Long. So,
I mean, you would think not. I guess, maybe the year off does his body good and he stays healthy for I almost said 16 for 17 games. And, he gets out there. He's more of a run blocker than he is a pass blocker. So we'll see. Kansas City don't really run too much, but maybe this is the year that, they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire early last year. So maybe going into year 2, they try to take some of that pressure away from Mahomes. I doubt it. You just gave him $500 million. I don't know why you would take pressure away from him, but
right. You don't give a quarterback that much money to run the ball, right? I think you've said it yourself, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's obviously Kansas City's got a lot of offensive weapons. You've got, one of the best young quarterbacks there that's obviously going to be a future Hall of Famer.
The best young quarterback.
It's debatable, right? Because you could debate Deshaun Watson, just don't.
No, you can't. Even Deshaun Watson's good. He's really good, but he's not Patrick Mahomes.
See, and I don't know if you'd be saying that if they were on opposite teams, but we'd go down that rabbit hole. We could talk about what the Bears would look like with Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, and I don't want to get depressed this early in the show. So
you want to save that for later?
Yeah, I'll save my Bears woes for later before we wrap the show up, because
I'm good with that.
Every time we talk about that team, I just end up scratching my head and frustrated. But that's the nature.
There'll be plenty of head scratching and wondering next week when draft week.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can take it, just because I see these reports. I see that the Lions are talking about trading out of their number 7 spot, I believe it is, and it immediately makes me think that Pace and Nagy are on the phone over there with Detroit trying to work something out.
Well, everybody's hoping that a quarterback drops. Carolina's hoping one drops to 8. Detroit's hoping one drops to 7. Detroit traded for Jared Goff. Carolina traded for Sam Darnold. So they're not taking quarterbacks in that first round. So now they're just hoping let a quarterback drop so we can get more picks.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, I do think you'll probably see one of the quarterbacks drop to that range. But the problem this year, especially, is you've got really five guys that are first round talent, and then you're going to be looking at these guys that are second and third round talent. And with as quarterback hungry as teams are going to be in this draft, it almost makes you wonder if one of those second or third round guys is going to go a little bit earlier just to secure a quarterback by a
Well,
team.
yeah, it's one of those Lamar Jackson situations. Baltimore traded up to come back into the back end of the first round, the end of the first round. They traded to come back into the end of the first round to take Lamar. Will somebody do that this year? Will somebody? I don't think a quarterback will drop that far this year. Because you're going to see quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. And
Right.
very well be 1, 2, 3, 4. Does Atlanta trade out? Do they stay there? Do they stay where they are and take Pitts? Do they stay where they are and take a quarterback themselves? Do they trade the pick to somebody that wants a quarterback? I think it all depends what teams are looking to give up come draft day on what they're willing to pay to move up. Don't forget, Philadelphia gave up a haul to move up to take Carson Wentz. So,
absolutely.
He came out. So we'll see. It all comes down to draft day. It's one of the most exciting nights of the year in sports. It has its own night now, the first round, which I like because I feel like the first round is a whole separate entity than the rest of the draft. So we'll see. It'll be exciting for sure.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said there with the first round being its own night, I've been a big fan since they moved that direction. It just really puts a spotlight on those that first round of players that are taken. It puts a spotlight on their talent. They elaborate a little bit more on the players that are taken in the first round, show a little bit more film. The interviews are a little bit longer, and it really lets teams get to know that player. So I'm a big fan for that.
Yep.
Now, that being said, if the Bears stay at 20, I'm honestly not sure what they're going to do at 20. I think they should go after an offensive lineman. That would obviously be the smart play, but there's nothing smart about this organization. So we'll see what happens. I mean, next week's going to be an exciting week. You're going to see obviously more and more mock drafts come out as we get closer.
Yeah, you'll see those final mock drafts of, the Mel Kipers and the Todd McShays and Louis Riddick and all those guys.
Right. And I've seen a lot of guys saying the Bears are going to take a corner in the first round, which is.
Well, I think it's natural reaction when you see, the release of Kyle Fuller. I think a lot of people speculate. It all depends what happens in front of. If they stay at 20, it's all going to dictate what happens in front of them. If Surtain and Farley and Horn, if those guys all go early, well, now the best corners are off the board. But if one falls to 20, then it's like, well, shit, do I get my corner now? I'm going to need one. There's tackles that are going to be there in the second round, or do I go get the tackle and then see what's there in the second round?
Yeah, see, and that's the thing with the position of the Bears being at 20, they're really in an awkward spot where a lot of things are either going to fall in their play and they're going to get a nice pick at 20, or they're either going to trade up or they're going to trade back. They're almost in that
trading back. I just don't see it.
They're almost in that awkward position though, where it would almost be more beneficial in a way for them to trade back into the second, get another pick, and then now you're talking you could grab 2 offensive linemen potentially in the second round, and then you could go after a guy like Kellen Mond maybe early in the third. Or
yeah, it all depends. If with so many quarterbacks going at the top of the draft, I think you're going to see the Kellen Monds, the Davis Mills, those guys, the Kyle Trasks, they're going to go earlier than they normally would because so many quarterbacks are going to be off the board already. By the time you get through the top 10, you could realistically have 5 quarterbacks off the board. And if all 5 are off the board in the top 10, then it becomes, does somebody slip up into that first round that we talked about, the end of the first round? Somebody that, you might take, like a Jacksonville or somebody that might take somebody at the end of, the beginning of the second round. Do they trade up to the end of the first to make sure they get their guy?
Right. We got our guy Ron here in the chat saying I can see them trading down if none of the quarterbacks they want are still available. I agree. I do think they're going to go try to get a quarterback in the first. They're going to trade up, leverage the future to get that guy that's going to be their, I don't want to say their saving grace, because there's reports all over out of Hallis Hall that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are their guys for the future, and it's not a one-year thing. They're not on the hot seat, which is absolutely astounding to me. But, you know, obviously the McCaskies and Sweaty Teddy up there really love Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. So we shall see what they do come draft day, but it'll be interesting to see either way. I'm just excited to see some new players join the Bears, as well as teams around the league. And, you know, I'm a big fan of college football. I am an Alabama fan when it comes to college football, and obviously they produce a lot of star talent at the wide receiver, the corner position, and I always like to see where those guys go and kind of keep my eye on them as they have their careers.
Devonta Smith, he's like 156 pounds or 166 pounds or something. He's taller but skinnier than Tyreek Hill.
He is extremely skinny, and that's one of the things that, you know, I would be leery of when you go after a guy that's that thin. He's obviously more injury prone.
Well, you look at the closest comparison is going to be Deshaun Jackson, and Deshaun Jackson had his problem staying on the field. So the comparisons to who he reminds you of don't do him a lot of justice at what to look for in the draft. So, you know, he says he's fine. He can play a full season at that. You know, obviously he'll probably put some weight on in the NFL, but, you know, guys like that, they tend to not put on a lot of muscle even to get to the league, because this is not who they are, you know. And if he does put on the muscle, will it affect his speed? You know, and if you take away his speed, you know, is he still the same guy? So a lot of these guys, it just depends where they go. You know, if they fall, sometimes when they fall in the draft, everybody's like, "Oh my God, they fell in the draft. They got to be pissed." Well, it's like, you know, when you fall in the draft, it means you're going to a better team. So, you know, the later you get picked, the better the team is. So now you're looking at like, well, maybe I'm going to a better situation. You know, if a guy falls and he goes to, you know, Baltimore at 30 with the extra pick in the first round, if they take a receiver, well, you know, that receiver could see a lot of play time right out of the gate. Whereas if he goes somewhere that has a lot of receivers, now you're like, oh, well, he might see the field. So we'll see. Like you said, one thing's for sure, it's going to be interesting.
Oh, absolutely. I just know Ryan Pace, and I know he's got something up his sleeve, as a lot of these other teams do, right? You hear so many rumors circulating before draft day, and
draft day, you always hear all of them.
A good 90% of them aren't true, but you know, they call it lying season for a reason. The truth comes out on draft day. So I think it's one of those things where we all get excited, we all hear the speculation, the buzz, and you know, everything like that, and we're just so pumped to see what they actually do. Well, yeah, and then the Bears take a complete left turn and do the exact opposite.
This year, it's like what if we get to 19 and 19 gets picked? I think it's Washington's at 19, I believe. They pick whatever, and the Bears are looking, and the tackle they wanted is, you know, might not be there, or maybe he is, and maybe there's a couple extra tackles there because not as many went as they thought there would. Look around, and what if you hear them come out and say we have a trade, and they trade the pick along with, you know, the next 3 other first-round picks to Houston, they get Deshaun Watson. You know, like I said, I still think Watson goes somewhere. Why else would Houston's paying Tyrod Taylor $13 million? That's not backup money. You don't pay your backup $13 million, well, unless you're almost at Oakland, unless you're Vegas and John Gruden, where he paid Mariota $10 million last year. You know, other than that, you don't pay your backups that. So now you're telling me, especially a Tyrod Taylor, are you telling me that you brought Tyrod Taylor in to be Deshaun Watson's backup for $13 million a year? And that was the plan you had in mind, was him being the backup when you signed with the $13 million?
Yeah, you know, I do think you definitely have something there, obviously. Like you said, $13 million is an awful lot of money for a guy to ride the pine.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you know, if I'm Houston, I don't care what it takes. I'm rectifying that relationship with Deshaun Watson, no matter what. Just he's an elite talent.
It's only if you can. You know, the whole saying about trading is, well, you got to have the other guy answer the phone. Well, if it goes the same, if you're trying to repair a relationship and Deshaun Watson wants nothing to do with you, you're not repairing that as much as you want to. So, now it becomes, okay, well, maybe it's in our best interest to move him. And the last time Nick Kazarian had his interview, he was not as, at an arm's reach about Deshaun Watson possibly being traded. So, we'll see. They say draft night's the only one night a year you can trade 4 first-round picks. So we'll see if that has a factor into it or not.
Oh, for sure. I think obviously if he does get moved, I think that it will be on draft day, like you said, just because that extra pick becomes available. And that's honestly, when you look at a guy like Watson, that's his worth. He's definitely worth it. Him and Russell Wilson are probably the only 2 quarterbacks I would say are worth giving that additional first-round pick. But you bring, both of those guys, Russ or Watson, you bring either of those guys onto this Bears team, and this Bears team is instantly a playoff contender.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're willing to trade 3 to 4 first-round picks and 2 players, which I still think Kyle Fuller was one of those players, but 2 players for a 32-year-old Russell Wilson, you got to be willing to give up that much for a 25-year-old Deshaun Watson.
Right. Oh, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think, as we've said, there will be something up the Bears' sleeve come draft day, but we can touch on that a little bit later, more in depth. Right now, I think we got a guest ready to come on.
We do. We love guests on this show.
There he is, the Dream Killer. What's up, Lorenzo? How we doing, man?
What's up, man? What's up?
Hey, I think I've seen that guy somewhere before.
How we doing tonight, man? How we feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been a long day. It's been a long week, man. So I'm tired, drained out.
Training hard?
Yeah, training hard. Podcast training. Gotta get singing. Yeah, I gotta get my water in there.
It's a good routine to have. Every so much training, you got to slide a podcast in there.
Yeah. We gotta get one in, man. Gotta get one in. But
I know you're fighting heavyweight, but every time we see you, you're smaller and smaller.
Yeah, man.
They're training you to the bone.
Yeah, it's I think I'm at 257 right now. My body fat's at like 11%. So, but
okay,
over the next over the next 6 weeks, I'll probably go up to about 270, 275. Because my I'm starting to wean off the diet now, start to hang out because camp doesn't start for us until June. So training's starting to die down. Obviously, we'll stay in shape. We'll stay, obviously with the cardio and stuff, but it'll give me a chance to kind of gain some weight and have some fun and relax a little bit, and then we'll hit it hard come June.
So, first things, we want to congratulate you on signing with the UFC. That's big news. Big news that came out, last week. Yeah. So, on behalf of 1252, congratulations.
Come on, boys. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, man. It's huge. Obviously, the last time you were on with us, you said, man, if I win this next fight, I hope they come knocking. They better come knocking. And sure enough, you got the opportunity. You signed your contract late last week, right?
Yeah. I did. It's man, it's a blessing, man. True blessing. I always feel like, at this stage of the game, man, you kind of manifest and you kind of, you put in all the hard work and you hope that eventually all the pieces, fall where they may.
Oh, absolutely.
Right on. So for those who didn't see it, why don't you walk us through the end of that last fight? Because for those who did, it's been a very popular topic, the exciting end, which, anybody who's followed you has come accustomed to seeing those exciting finishes from you.
Yeah, man, the fight, I actually don't know how long the fight went. Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was under a minute and a half, if maybe that, or 40, or something like that. Fight started out. It was kind of funny, man, because when the fight started, like I saw him coming full speed ahead at me, and I kind of just laughed for a second because I'm like, oh, I know he wants to like hit me as hard as he possibly can, and I just watched, man, and he hit me with the right hand, and even you hear on the announcers, they're like, oh, and Hood smiles at him. And it was funny because I smiled at him, and he just had this look on his face like, oh, man. And, then as soon as that happened, we kind of moved around a little bit. he tried to wrestle me, obviously, because, people keep sleeping on. I've been training my wrestling and jiu-jitsu nonstop. So we actually ended up turning him, putting him on the cage. He hit me in the nuts twice. So once I got out of that shot, I was like, all right, man, it's time to get this over with. And then, we just hit him with a barrage, man. Things we practice. Punches with kicks, punches and bunches. I caught him with a flying knee, which that hurt him.
Man,
Yeah.
I just got to say, I saw that. And when I saw that clip, I'm going, you don't see guys at this weight doing that, man. Oh, my God, that was incredible. It was a great shot. And just instantly, I was like, all right, this is his fight. This is his fight.
Yeah, man. It was cool, man. Obviously, like I was looking for the flying knee knockout. I was kind of mad I didn't get it. But obviously, what followed that flying knee was a nasty head kick. That finished the fight. So it was cool, man. Obviously, for me, it's whether I always say the same thing. We go out there and we try to the heavyweight division make it fun again. Make people want to watch it again. So I always try to add new things to the game. Always trying to do new things and high risk, high reward.
Well, you definitely don't ever come up short on the excitement. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, with that, obviously, with you taking the next step here and going into the UFC, you want to tell everybody a little bit about your first fight? Or are you allowed to say when your first fight is and who your opponent is?
Yeah, I'm fighting in August, man. I fight late August. I fight Lucas. My goodness, I'm badgering his name. I don't even know. Lucas Brekowski or something like that, man. A guy out of Poland, tough guy, super. I think he's 9-1 if I'm not mistaken. Super tough, all around good MMA guy. Making his debut as well. Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. For me, I really don't care who I'm fighting. It's just about what I need to go out there and do. So, whether we're fighting Lucas or we're fighting Ngannou, it's I got to go out there and do what I need to do as opposed to worrying about who my opponent is.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the right mentality to have. I mean, you worry about you do the work, you get the result, right? At the end of the day, all you can control is you. So,
man, yeah, all you can focus on is what you got to do, man, and how much work you put in, and how ready you can get yourself. For me, I'm just really happy that I get a break, man. I'm really happy that I get a little bit of a break to kind of relax. Man, I had so many fights in 7 months. Like we talked about before, even during this whole pandemic craziness, I was training nonstop and trying to get ready, because I didn't know when it was going to open, if it was going to open. I remember, me and Turtle were, sitting together in the car thinking that possibly, we had a fight, and then it was like, oh, they postponed it again. And so I've been in like a training camp for like a year straight, man. So it feels, it's going to feel starting Monday, take a little bit of a, take my foot off the gas a little bit and kind of relax a little bit and, we'll go back to just drilling and learning new things and things like that, as opposed to things you can't do in a training camp. Training camp, you got to go. So now I'm excited to go back to the drawing board, let my body kind of relax a little bit and learn some new things again.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the rare opportunities you've had, like you said, in the last 7 months to a year to kind of stop and take a breath and, just breathe for a minute. And, is it kind of, to speak out as a field, because you haven't had those moments now when you look back at what the last 7 months to a year has been for you, does it just now hit you that all the fights you've had and all the knockouts and all the training and all that you've put into such a short amount of time and how far you've come? I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but, your name outside of, this area and everything wasn't what it is now in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, of course, man. Funny thing is, so back in 2015, 2016, I was kind of right in a similar path to stardom, man. I was everything was right there for the taking. Obviously I got hurt, but like I just was talking about this on another podcast, man. I was just saying, like, it's so funny how the world works, man, because so that injury that I had in Bellator sent ripples down my entire career because it changed my everything. One, it was the biggest fight in my life, and then being hurt, and then got a small surgery to fix the LCL, but I left the MCL and the PCL untouched. I rehabbed slightly, came back and way too fast. Didn't train any wrestling. Dude, I've always kept it real. Like 12 out of my 19 fights, dude, I probably trained less than 30 minutes for them. Like that's the crazy.
crazy.
That's the crazy part about it. You know what I'm saying? You think about like my career, like I've always kept it 100. I came back to fight Shelton Graves. I probably trained less than a week for that fight because I couldn't still use my knee. And here I am fighting a really high level wrestler, and I'm like, oh, like he's not gonna wrestle me. Oh, okay. Well, I got wrestled and I got ragged out, man, and I was like, oh my God. So then that fight set me back even more on the knee. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll get one more parts of my knee repaired. And then the opportunity, another huge fight comes up, like, oh, to go fight World Series of Fighting. And I trained maybe 30 minutes for that fight. And, it was so bad. I've said this before, like, I'll never forget, like, being in the back room with the doctors in the World Series of Fighting. And I had to sign a document stating that if I lost my leg in a fight, because it had to be amputated or something because the damage was so bad that I couldn't sue or anything like that. But that was the only way I could fight.
Oh, wow.
That's how bad my leg was. Anyways, needless to say, like that fight happens, everything's going good. I won the first round. There's like 10 seconds left in the second round. And mentally, man, like I was so exhausted from everything. Like just life at that point just had just caught up to me, man. And it was like, I'll never forget, man. And like I said, I always do my best to not lie to the fans and my, my people. And it was the first time in my life, man, I quit, dude. So like there's 10 seconds left. He puts in the guillotine. I have him against the cage. He locks in the guillotine. It's not even tight. And I just tapped and I quit on myself. And that was the day I retired because I'm like, man, dude, like it was such a horrible feeling to know that like I quit on myself. I quit on my friends. I quit on my coaches. And I never really tell that story too much until recently, man, because it actually was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me was that moment at that very point in time. And, losing that fight, and that was my fourth loss in my entire life. At that point, I was 13-4, and I was like, I'm done. Like I just don't want to do this no more. And it took a lot, to come back for me. I got healed. I got the surgeries I needed. I rehabbed. I trained my mind, man, because, the mind is the biggest tool you can possibly have in any sport that you ever play. Whether it's football, whether it's boxing, whether it's wrestling, whether it's golf. Like, if your mind is solid, no matter how bad you are physically, your mind's always going to pull you through it. And I didn't know that. I was always like, oh, like aesthetically, like I looked good, but I was rotting on the inside. And aesthetically, like I looked good, but I wasn't taking care of, my diet, my brain, my knee, so it was like, so I wasn't ready for all the shit that was coming my way in 2015, 2016. Had I went to the UFC, had I even, really ended up fighting in Bellator, like I was not ready for it because I wasn't mentally ready for it. I wasn't physically ready for it. So, now, it's so funny. Last night after practice, me and my coaches are sitting there and I'm like, dude, you remember 2016, how we felt when I was crying, sitting there, and I was like, I can't believe that I just did that. Like, I can't believe I just quit on myself. I quit on you guys. And I was like, I'm done with this sport. And now to be sitting here and like, this gives me chills to think about it. I was like, think about where we're at now. You fast forward 6 years, 7 years, and we're 4 fights away from possibly fighting for the UFC Heavyweight Championship, being the baddest man on the damn planet. Like, when you think about that, I said it earlier, if this was the last part of the book, the last sentence, and I just put dot, that's a good fucking way to end the book, bro. You take your life, a guy like me, everything I've been through, and you end it with where I'm at right now, I'm good with it. But obviously the story doesn't end here, and there's so much more to go. But, like, just to put it in perspective for you guys of, like, what it means and how hard it's been, like, there's words I can't, I'm just blessed, I'm just blessed. I work hard. While the world was kind of slowing down in the pandemic, I was picking it up. I was ramping it up. I was, I saw an opportunity in there to make myself better. I saw an opportunity to, while things were slowing down, kind of just speed it up and be like, hey, what can I do? Who's open? Who's not? Where can I train at? Where can I go? Traveling to Indiana to train with my coach on his front lawn. Getting a couple guys together. We're training. With masks on and sweating, and So, again, this last year has been a complete. I feel like I've grown maturity-wise over the last 2 years, like 10 years. Like I feel like my maturity level is just, I guess, increased so much. And my physical, this is the best I've ever felt physically. That's the strongest I've ever been. It's, I could go for days. I can do whatever needs to be done. It's like, it's crazy. It's just, it's one of those things, man, where you're kind of like, dang, everything's clicking, man. Like the car's running super smooth. You got the oil change. You cleaned it. You got the rims clean. And you're like, wow, like the inside matches the outside. And, usually it doesn't happen. Usually it's one or the other. But for right now, with everything that I got going on, man, I just feel blessed. I feel hungry and humble. And, something I watched GSP and Joe Rogan talk the other day. And I don't know if anybody's seen that. But GSP says something in that fight. And it didn't hit me until just like 2 days ago. And he says in the podcast, he goes, when I fought Matt Serra, he lost to Matt Serra. He says,
Yep.
when I fought Matt Serra hit me and I quit. And I never knew this, right? And I just heard this. I heard it on Wednesday. He goes, Matt Serra hit me and I quit. He goes, I didn't want to fight anymore. I was out of that fight. He goes, and he obviously ended up losing that fight. And he goes,
Right.
He goes, fast forward, and I mean, this is a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, telling you that,
Right.
and you're like, wow. And then he goes on to say that it was the best thing that ever happened to him because later in his career, he was defending his belt, and the same incident happened where he got hit the same way, and he said his mind went to quitting right away, but he said instantaneously that feeling went away, and he overcame it. And he said it was only because he had experienced it in the beginning that he was able to overcome it when it happened again. And I truly believe that all of my losses, all of my pains, all of the things that I did wrong, like without those things happening, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys about, I'd be sitting here talking to you about something else. It wouldn't be about going to the UFC, that's for sure.
No, absolutely. And I mean, we appreciate you kind of giving a little bit of a background story, sharing some of the adversity that you went through then. And obviously now over the past year, you've worked extremely hard to get where you are. And, like I said, the last time you were talking to us, you were saying, man, that shot's coming. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, when Vince hit me with the news that you were getting ready to sign that contract, I was like, man, so happy for you. Just ecstatic, man, to see that, you're really a testament to see that hard work pays off. And, you're mentally and physically strong. You're in it. You're ready to go. And I'm excited for August. I can't wait to see what you do here in your first fight in the UFC, man.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun, man. Again, at the end of the day, you got to have fun. You got to have fun with what you're doing. We're out here all of us are chasing our dreams. It's funny because I go on Facebook and I do lives because people message me all the time. And I try to answer a couple questions, every day or every other day. I try to, I'm busy a lot, but I try. But I feel like when people saw that was happening, I felt like a lot of people who've been with me or just been fans of mine or even haters, whatever, like they had to respect it. For 5 minutes, you had to respect because you're like, yo, this dude has been on the grind nonstop and he's kept it real every step of the way. I never lied. I never bullshitted about it. I kept it real. I spoke the truth and I've talked about chasing your dreams down. But, a lot of people talk about it, a lot of people doing it, but I just, was one of those guys, like I said, when people got to see it, it was like this uproar of people like, oh man, like this dude really, he buttoned down the hatch, put on his hard hat and went to work. And, so it was cool to be able to let people know that, hey, listen, like regardless of the situation, you can come out on the other side. You just got to be willing to put in that hard, nitty gritty work, man.
That's what it's all about in life, man. You put in the work, you get the result. You're a testament to that, like I said.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a big part of it is, a lot of people, they see you've had so much success in such a short amount of time that you just almost, it's just natural to almost just feel, well, there's no adversity. Everything is going the way it's supposed to go all the time. Like everything is always great. Everything is always exactly how you want it to go, because otherwise, how could you have this kind of success? So it's kind of, one of those things to hear you speak about the adversity that you still encounter,
Man.
from time to time, even not only in the down times, but even in the success, that even with all the success, there's still the adversity you deal with every day. And, mentally, the burnout and everything from that you put into it, the sacrifices. I texted you, we talk all the time, and I texted you, I said the picture of you laying on that UFC mat, it made me tear up a little bit. And I texted you, I said I could feel the sacrifices almost pouring through the picture. And obviously I get to, I'm blessed, I get to know you better than a lot of people who follow you do. But it's, it's just one of those things, Tarble talked about it, the fans, it's just great to see the success come. And you're really, like Tarble said, I couldn't word it better. You're a testament to what it's like to keep persevering no matter what. And just never accepting that that's all you can be.
Yeah, it's really easy when, I talk about it all the time. I have it tattooed on my chest. Adversity introduces a man to himself. And it's super easy when bad things happen to fade into the dark and just let it be and just say, all right, well, this is what it is. I'm going to accept that. And that's where it's going to go. It's even, it's super easy. The hard part is to look at adversity in the face and say, okay, well, I have to now do this. I have to pick myself up from wherever this is that just stopped me, and I have to find a way to make it work. And a lot of the times, man, we all know this, man. It's much easier just to say, you know what, I'm just gonna let it be. I'd rather say that I could have done it. I'll use a perfect analogy, man, and Turtle can attest to this. Playing, guys playing like semi-pro football. You hear this all the time. You hear, I should be in the NFL. I should be in Canada. I should be in Arena 1 football. You hear it, and you just kind of laugh, right? And there are a few rarities that could be or should be. But the work ethic, the adversity in which it takes that you have to sustain on a daily basis to be a professional athlete is insane. Like, we sit here as people and we talk about, here we go, love them or hate them. Just think about this. And again, regardless if I was a fan or not, I like to think that mental toughness, you look at a guy like LeBron James, you think about a guy who mentally, man, could you imagine the amount of pressure just to play in a regular season game against the Knicks, and imagine he just goes out and scores 10 points, and it's, oh my God, he's the worst. He, just the ridicule. So when I think about things, I'm oh man, dude, you start to find these small pieces, and you're like, wow. Could you imagine what it takes just to be that person, or imagine what it takes to do that? And then it's your own life and things happen and you're like, well, what are my two options? Because I feel like a lot of times in life, we rather just tell people oh, I could have did it, right? I'll show you guys example. When Turtle first told me about a podcast about a year and a half ago, and then people were like, they laughed, right? Because they thought it was funny. They thought it was a joke, oh, you're not gonna have a podcast. Why would you have a podcast? Blah, 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 blah. So it's very easy just to say yeah, you know what? I could have had podcasts and I could have been really good. But, and let it be that, right? That's the story that could have been told. Or you get your ass up and you make it happen, right? And now here you guys go. You guys, are on a podcast and he's doing very well. And it's awesome to see, I was checking it out. I saw everybody was retweeting your Devin Hester thing, it's success, man, is very marginable. It's unless you make it more than that, so you have to accept what is, and you have to be all right, am I going to just say when I was 13-4 and I retired, I could have sat down and at some point told my kids or grandkids at some point, hey, your dad was a beast. and they never would have knew the underlying story of that. And they would have just said, like,
Right.
you know, looked it up, and that would have been that. But to get up off the couch, to pull yourself up from all the things and where I was at to now where I'm at now is insane, you know. So I feel like you know, like you're able to kind of manifest, man. Like we talked about the last time we talked, what did I say? I said this is it, one more, man. One more, man. And you just start to manifest these things, and you say, like, if I do the work, it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. And if it doesn't happen, okay, like when I got the call, I was literally just got done accepting the Valor Fighting Challenge Heavyweight Championship fight against the guy that they were bringing in. They were bringing him in from Istanbul or something like that. Super good dude. They were bringing him in, and I was going to fight him in June 5th. I just got done accepting it. I was like, hey, send us the contracts. Let's do it. And, you know, because I was like, hey, I'm not going to stop. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. And,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, like, because that's just how it is, you know, in life. You know, you got to keep moving. You got to keep going. And again, man, it's you got to make your own opportunities, man. Don't wait for everybody else to come and try to, you know, give you something. You got to go and get it yourself, because, you know, when you're hungry, no one's trying to feed you, but you still got to eat, you know?
Oh, absolutely. So real quick, you said when you got that call, have you talked to Dana yet? Have you been able to talk to Dana White?
No, I've not talked to Dana, man. Since I talked to Dana, since I talked to my UFC contract, there was the Ngannou fight that had happened that previous week. There was another big fight that happened. You know, like, they got a lot of things going. Plus, right now, there's nothing to say to Dana. I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the chance. I'll talk to you after I beat this dude's ass in August, and then we'll have a conversation, you know? Because right now,
absolutely.
Right now, I'm just a highly talented prospect coming into the UFC. You know, but, you know, listen, you know, my job is to go out there and perform and do what needs to be done. His job is obviously to recognize talent, which they have, and they're doing a great job. And so now it's my chance to, like, he gave me the platform to go and perform, so now I need to go perform.
Absolutely, man. We're looking forward to that fight. Like we said, we'll definitely have to do something here for 1252. We'll figure something out. We'd love to have you on a couple days after the fight or something like that, if you can make some time for us. So
of course, man, of course.
Yeah, it was super cool the last fight to see 1252 all over your trunks.
Yeah, man, you know, it was cool. I had you guys on the banner, I had you on my trunks.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, you know, I'm a big loyal guy and supporter of everybody, you know, and I know how hard it is to succeed in everything, man. So if I can support you guys the way you guys support me, obviously I'll return the favor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, switching gears a little bit, we had some topics we were going to go over, and since we had you on, we know you're a big Lakers fan. We figured, you know, Anthony Davis came back last night. Andre Drummond did his thing. He had, you know, he's made a career going 20-20. He had 19 rebounds last night. You know, they're playing without LeBron. You know, where is this Lakers team headed? You know, is LeBron as hurt as they say he is? Is he just sitting out, resting up for the playoffs? You know, what is this Lakers team, and how far can they go?
Well, if history says anything, attesting to LeBron's career, he's never really taken that much time off, because he says he hates the way that it makes his body feel when he takes time off. He said he'd rather play every single night as opposed to take long periods of time, because he says it's really hard for his body to kind of get back to it. So I think he is really hurt. If you looked at that ankle injury, that looked pretty nasty, man.
It did look nasty. For a while, you know, it looked like it might be worse than, the news was actually better than it looked.
Yeah. So when I first saw it, I was like, oh my, you know me, man. I'm a huge LeBron fan. I literally was like, I got done with training, and I'm like, I go home and watch the game. I'm recording, and like I hadn't looked on social media or anything yet. And I'm watching, and then all of a sudden I like jumped out of my seat. I'm like, what the – no. I'm like, get up, LeBron, get up. And then I saw the replay, and I was like, it's broken. It's broken 100%. And then obviously, and then they didn't tell you anything until the next day. And
Right.
I was like, oh, it's not broken. But, sometimes it's worse not to break something and have a bad sprain like that.
Yeah.
So again, obviously, I mean, the dude takes care of his body. At 36 years old, I think when he was, he was either 1 or 2 in the MVP voting at that point in time with Embiid. I mean, the dude is crazy. The dude's a robot. The dude is definitely a robot. The Lakers team, man, they look really good. I think Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond are going to create a lot of matchup problems for a lot of people. I don't, like everyone keeps. I'm not a bandwagon guy, but everyone keeps saying like the Nets. I don't think the Nets are going to go make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that they will. And if they do, and they're sitting there facing them 76ers, whew, it's going to be tough. Like there's nobody to deal with that man in the middle down there, man. That's the problem.
So is that who you've got coming out of the East, the 76ers?
Oh man, dude. I've been really going back and forth with that, right? Because I'm like, obviously I'm a guy, I'm a stats and like guy, so I'm like, I just think that if
to an annoying degree.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly, to an annoying degree. I really, dude, I guess I would go 76ers. I guess I would, because I don't think that there's anybody in the East really that can contend with the style of basketball that they have down there. And I mean, the Nets can score, a lot of points, but I'll tell you what, in the playoffs, when those games get tighter and you have more time to prepare for people, there's only one basketball on the court. So no matter how many superstars you have, it's not like any of those guys are really, if they miss a shot, they're not getting a rebound, and like the second chance points that they're able to get now on teams and things like that, they're not, it's as good as they get. I just don't. Kevin Durant doesn't look healthy to me. That's my.
No, he's out again. He clocked knees with Ariza.
Yeah, he just. I mean, but even before that, he hasn't looked healthy since he came back, and I feel like it seems like he's. You know how it is, like when a guy plays tentative and plays hurt, and you're like, or he looks like he's nervous to get hurt. That's how he kind of looks. Now, obviously, I'm not Kevin Durant, so I can't tell you that, but I can say, like, just watching him and being a fan of his, you can look at him and be like, oh, he doesn't. I mean, yeah, of course, he can shoot and give you 40 points effortlessly, no doubt.
Falling out of bed.
But, falling out of bed, he can give you 40 points. But when you watch him play, like you talk about, and then if that matchup was to happen, the Lakers versus the Nets, the Lakers defense is, man, boy, they're tough. And now, and they're gonna start to clamp and they're gonna start to body those little dudes. And
the rotation starts to cut down.
Yeah, and James Harden, I don't even know. I think his twin brother comes and plays in the playoffs every year. So I don't think James Harden has played one playoffs his entire life. But yeah, I would go 76ers coming out of the East and go back to the Lakers. I think when LeBron comes back, having that Andre Drummond and Anthony Davis lineup, I mean, just those two alone. Man, if you got Drummond giving you 20 points and let's just say 20 boards, let's say he's getting 8 or 9 offensive rebounds, around that, around that, that's potentially, if they hit threes off those 9, it's 27 points. Right. If they hit twos, that's another 18 points. Like that, those things swing games, man. You think about like,
especially in the playoffs.
Especially think about like when you guys had like Joakim Noah, man. He got all those hustle offensive rebounds, and or you think about like the good teams like Shaq, dude. Shaq would give you 9 extra offensive possessions a game. Like
when it feels like when especially in the playoffs, you feel like every time the team comes with those big offensive rebounds, it like the whole air comes out of the other team.
Dude,
you're like, oh shit, we gotta guard them again.
You have a great defensive possession, and then. Somebody gets an offensive rebound and they score, and it just like the air comes out of the whole arena. You're like, oh my goodness.
What were you gonna say, Tarble?
I was just gonna say, obviously in the playoffs, as it gets tighter and tighter, the defense becomes so much more elite too. Everybody likes to say that they don't play defense in the NBA anymore, but come finals time, you're seeing all sorts of crazy defense that you haven't seen all year. Just because I don't want to say there's a skills gap, but there is a little bit of a skills gap with those top tier teams that you're talking about. You look at the Lakers and you look at teams like the Nets, you look at teams like the 76ers. there's obviously a little bit of a skill gap there, and that's no disrespect to the other teams. It's just those teams are built up so heavy, so star heavy, and they focus on both offense and defense and transition so well that you see a different type of basketball come the playoffs. So
yeah, I mean, I think the teams like the Lakers, the Sixers, Celtics are really, those teams are built, to build a team offensively like the Phoenix Suns used to be. Like they were always offensive, super powerhouses. They had everybody. It was amazing to watch. But how many championships did they win? So like when you look at the Nets, it's like if I was the Nets, I would have tried to pick up a defensive like monster in the middle or a power forward, because even picking up LaMarcus Aldridge before he retired, like he's not going to be able to contend with Anthony Davis or Andre Drummond. He's not going to be able to, like, imagine him guarding Joel Embiid one-on-one. Like what? Like, oh, barbecue chicken, like Shaq would say.
Barbecue chicken.
Yeah. The Nets can score a lot of points, but in a 7-game series, how many games is Kevin Durant going to score 40 points? How many games is,
right?
And then you say, like, okay, let's just say Kevin Durant scores 40 and Kyrie Irving scores 40. Like, is James Harden going to score 40? No, because there's not enough shots on the court. So,
right.
It's still only 80 points. And you think about like these really good teams out here, they're not giving up more than 90 points in a game. They're not giving you, they're not giving you, so I think this year's finals is going to be whoever it is. I think it's going to be fun, and it's going to be interesting to see LeBron beat out all this time. Is it a gift? Is it a curse? What happens? We saw LeBron.
Right.
It's kind of like last year. They had that break when they they weren't playing, and he got that rest, and he came back, and it was like, oh, they look bad the first couple games, but then all of a sudden, man, they just
turn that light switch on.
Right,
yeah, man.
a switch that most people don't have. So Zoe, we were talking in our pre-show, meeting. We're going over topics and different things for the show, and one of the things we were going to get to was, as just a NBA fan in general, not of any team, what is it to see the Nets and the Knicks both firmly in the playoff bound, unless there's some miraculous collapse? What is it like as a basketball fan to see those two teams who have been so bad for so long, but such premier teams in the league now be relevant again?
Yeah, I mean, not even the Nets so much, man, but to have the Knicks be in the playoffs, I think is great for basketball. I mean, the Nets, it's whatever, but like to have the Knicks, man, just think about Madison Square Garden, just thinking about like all the lineage that comes from like the New York Knicks, their fans, the people. So like to know that they're back in the playoffs, unless obviously there's a huge meltdown, I think that's huge. I think it's huge for basketball. Going every year, you're sitting here around this time talking about like, oh man, I wonder if the Knicks will lose their 30th straight game, or
right,
I wonder if the Knicks will.
I wonder if they're going to get the first overall pick.
Yeah, because they're trying to get that first pick. And I mean, to go to the Nets, I think we knew as soon as the Nets picked up Kevin Durant that there was more to follow. I think we knew that was going to change for them. I mean, but the thing for me is, with the Nets getting all these people, if you don't win a championship this year, you really start to like, people are really going to start to hone in on KD and Kyrie and these guys and be like, well,
Harden,
oh my goodness, like Harden and Kyrie already, but KD went there because he wanted to show the world that I can do this, and then obviously he was like, oh, let me get all the help I can. They start to realize. I think these guys, like everyone talks about, like Turtle's one of the guys, like LeBron going to Miami, like the whole Big Three thing and things like that. And I think the first year they lost, didn't they? I believe they lost.
Yeah, they lost to Dallas.
Yeah, they lost to Dallas. And LeBron had that meltdown, like that they called in the finals. And dude, like that was like tragic for them. Like had LeBron and those guys not won, that would have been tragic. I mean, thank God they came back and won the next two, but. So like for me as a fan of Kevin Durant, I'm like, oof, I hope something happens, because right now it does not look good. And it's gonna start to, people start to remember this and say, well, Steph and Clay, they carried that team with Kevin Durant there, and Kevin Durant, when he was in Oklahoma City, he lost he was lost there, and Well, Kevin Durant, when he was, it starts to become that James
Right.
Harden, same thing, like
Right.
he was a superstar. He got everything he wanted, got everybody he wanted, disappeared. Kyrie, why did Kyrie win? He had LeBron, so it's, again, it's just one of those things where you kind of play. And like LeBron, I think this year when he comes back, it's going to be very interesting, man. I think these finals will be way more competitive than I think, even though the Miami versus Lakers thing was competitive. I did like Jimmy Butler was, dude, he was shining bright. He's playing hard, and he had those young guys playing. But I think whoever's in the finals this year, my prediction would be the Lakers versus Sixers. I don't know.
Definitely be
Definitely
exciting to see the Sixers. All the Ben Simmons, the Embiid, all that talk, and to see them finally get to the finals would be interesting to see how they play on that kind of stage.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
absolutely.
And I mean, how are they going to guard Ben Simmons? If I'm the Lakers, imagine the Lakers. If it was the Sixers, that would be the best case scenario because you can play off Ben Simmons drastically,
right?
And you can really double and help out on Embiid.
And with Davis and Drummond, Simmons ain't attacking the rim either.
Exactly. And then LeBron's going to guard Simmons, so that equals that out. So
right.
I think it would.
Before we get you out of here, we had a question from our guy Angelo. He said he was interested to get your thought on guys like Jake Paul who aren't true fighters getting all this attention and all the spotlight and all the hoopla. We've talked about it on this show. We've given our opinions, but we'd love to get your take on that.
Oh man, super sensitive topic right now around the world in combat sports. Jake Paul and Logan Paul and okay, so here's my thing, man. Like I've given this sport everything that I have to give as a man, everything that you can give, blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice, everything. So it's really easy for me to sit here and be like, F this guy, like this dude is a complete okay. One, he's not a fighter, so let's not put him in a category of being a fighter.
Right.
But I will say this. He's super smart. They're both super smart. He is training. He is trying to better himself and become a boxer of sort. You got to look at the guys that he's fought and say, okay, well, he has not fought a legitimate fighter. I mean, Ben Askren is a great wrestler, no doubt.
But he's not a striker.
Ben Askren's probably thrown a total of, 10 punches his entire MMA career.
Right.
And you take it like he retired from MMA because his back was so bad. He just coming off of hernia hip surgery. He was done. I mean, you can look at him on the weigh-ins and look at him. I mean, he looked like he just got done eating barbecue and was like on the beach chilling. You know what I mean? So, garnering all the attention, I think it's our fault as the media, as the public. We hype these things up and we give these guys a platform where they can do these events and they can sell the bullshit to the public because people are going to watch and tune in and see it. And then now you start to give these people a platform. Well, then of course, they're going to continue to do this. When he came out with his fight, if everybody didn't report it on media websites, if we didn't talk about it on podcasts, if we had people who didn't pay $60 to watch it, then that would be it. That's the end of Jake Paul and Logan Paul's boxing career right there. But instead,
go ahead.
Instead, he made $5 million. Yeah, Ben Askren made like $1 million. Like, I mean, and the pay-per-view numbers were insane, and the card was horrible. The Triller card was absolute trash. But again, like we pay and we talk about it, so we have to deal with it. I mean, he's a fake. I don't want to say he's a fake fighter.
Hey, you can call him anything you want.
No, I don't want to.
We got no restrictions on this show.
No. It's not that he's a fake fighter, man. Because if he was a fake fighter, he wouldn't be training at all. And he's training and he's putting in the work, so I can't call him a fake fighter. Well, what I can say is, let's just say he's definitely a smart opponent picker for boxing. Because if he fights a boxer, or even if he fought an MMA guy who actually was a striker, I mean, he's gonna go to sleep, bro. So like you pick and choose, and he can say whatever he wants, how he wants Conor McGregor, and he wants Daniel Cormier, and how
he's talking about Cody Garbrandt.
Oh my God, Cody Garbrandt would knock his head off in the next.
Right,
Cody
absolutely.
Garbrandt's 135, 125 pounds.
Right.
Cody would slap his head into the stands. I
Right.
mean, anybody who has thrown a punch would beat him. You get what I'm saying? But like his opponent choice is very calculated, and it enables him to do these things. Like his brother's gonna fight Floyd Mayweather.
I saw that.
So here's my thing. If Floyd loses, then they paid Floyd, and Floyd will never have any debt for the rest of his life.
But do you think that there's really an amount in this? Because I've heard this now a few times from different. Do you think with all the money Floyd has, is there really an amount in the world that could get you as Floyd Mayweather to lose for the first time to him?
Let me tell you something. Let me just say this. If Floyd, and again, I don't disrespect any man. I don't do that anymore. But if Floyd had all the money in the world, Floyd wouldn't be fighting Logan Paul June 5th with it being 50 years old or 48, whatever he is, sitting in his house, had all these businesses making the money.
I think he's just bored.
No, he's not bored, dude. Listen,
dude. I got to agree with Zoe on that one. If you had all the money in the world, you wouldn't have fought Conor McGregor 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But you can always get more money. But at some point, I mean, I just don't see any way. I mean, we've seen plenty, like several matches in a row of Floyd Mayweather where he didn't even get touched.
You think about this. Floyd Mayweather has so many different, like the dude has a car for every day of the month. Like the dude has those things cost money. And when you're living the Floyd Mayweather lifestyle, when you're in your 20s, 30s, and early 40s, and you're making all this money, and because you're fighting, the bills don't seem like shit. But when you're living the Floyd Mayweather, you're retired, and you're not making all those millions and millions of dollars because you're not fighting anymore, I'm sure those bills start to add up after a while. So, yeah, fighting a guy like Logan Paul is absolutely perfect for him because if he comes out to fight seriously, Floyd Mayweather doesn't even have to train. Just his instincts alone on how much he's already done and put in are going to beat him 100%.
Right. Our guy Grant here in the chat saying that Floyd barely took the Pacquiao fight and messed around for a long time before he took the McGregor fight. He's saying he's not serious about it. Do you think Floyd's serious about taking that fight?
So Floyd Mayweather denied Manny Pacquiao the shot in his shoulder before the fight because he didn't want to fight Manny Pacquiao at 100%. Like, that is what it is. And Manny Pacquiao beat him 4 or 5 rounds in that fight with one arm. Conor McGregor, he didn't want to take that fight at first, you know what I mean? But then that money started to look really, really good. He took that fight.
Right.
He trained for that Conor McGregor fight because he knew that Conor McGregor could knock him out potentially if he hit him. Conor McGregor is one of the few guys that actually hit Floyd Mayweather. If you look at that fight, and you see Floyd Mayweather like, oh, wow. Now, against Logan Paul, Jake Paul, I think there's going to be that really thin line where he's going to be like, yo, I am one of the greatest of all time at boxing. I don't need to train for this guy because this guy can't beat me on my baddest day. And if he does that, there is a slight possibility that he could lose if he doesn't train for this dude. Because as we know in fighting, all it takes is one punch. All it takes is just that slip up, and that could be that. Do I think that could happen? I would say the betting odds on this fight would be like Floyd's going to be like, dude, like a minus 10 million. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so
right.
The betting odds in Vegas, I would love to see those odds. Like, I wonder when they're going to come out because I just can't see in a world where he would lose to this guy unless he was paid off. A lot of people think that Ben Askren got paid off.
I've heard a lot of people say that, and I think it's more just that he's not a striker.
Yeah, so he got. So people were posting videos of Ben Askren getting hit on the ground and getting hit with MMA gloves and blah 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 blah, and him staying up and not being knocked out. But that's a testament to him being in the gym training every single day, getting ready for these fights and having the cardio and endurance to withstand some of these blows. I don't think he was really training that hard for this fight because I don't think that he thought that Jake Paul could knock him out.
Did you see the Bleacher Report that came out? I believe it was Monday. It came out that Jake Paul was supposed to fight Ben Askren MMA after this fight, and now he backed out of that fight and said that he's not gonna fight Ben Askren in MMA because Ben Askren's a loser and he just knocked him out, so it's not worth his time. And
of course, man. Why, dude? Come on, dude. Like, come on. You can't listen. You can play a lot of things in life. You cannot play MMA. Let me just tell you that right now, because there's too many weapons in there to get hit with. There's too many. Like, you can't play that one. You can't control that one. And if he fought Ben Askren in MMA, Ben Askren would slam him. It would look like a WWE wrestling match, where one guy would just be doing like finishing moves nonstop with wrestling. And,
slam him all over the mat.
He would probably just pick him up, walk around, dump him, pick him up, let him get up. Like it would look something like that. I mean, so you couldn't fight Ben Askren in an MMA match. Now, the Tyron Woodley Jake Paul fight, especially with Tyron Woodley just got released today from the UFC.
Yeah, today.
That fight makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
But Jake Paul's not going to accept. He's not going to accept that fight, man. There's some. I don't think he would. I mean, who knows? Maybe he does, But like, he's going to have to legitimize himself at some point because people are going to stop buying the bullshit. Eventually, people are going to be like, okay, you fought a YouTube guy who's never fought before. You fought a 5'6" basketball player who looked like a chihuahua, got let out of the cage. And then you fought a guy who's just coming off spinal surgery and retired from, and has never been a striker ever, like not even like a little bit. So eventually people are going to be like, okay, you got to show me something, buddy. Like you got to fight somebody who poses a threat at some point. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I don't want to, like I said, I don't call him fake, but I also don't really pay attention because like the dude is, if he didn't have money from being a whatever he is, what do they call his a YouTube sensation?
A YouTuber.
Yeah, a YouTuber. Like, yeah, if he didn't have money from being a YouTuber and he was just like a regular guy, like if Turtle just got up right now and was like, "Oh, dude, I'm getting ready to fight such and such," nobody would give a flying fuck.
Right.
But now, let's say Turtle becomes like this crazy YouTuber and he says, I'm going to fight such and such. And he has all the money to buy the show, put on the show, put on the exhibition, and front all, like, then people start to listen. So it's like, without the money, what is he? What is Jake Paul? If he didn't have the money from the YouTuber, what would you pay to watch him fight Nate Robinson if he was just some guy? No. You know what I mean? Would we be talking about him fighting Ben Askren or Conor McGregor or any of these other people if he wasn't some rich dude who, again, more power to him. He's a smart guy. He was able to make a ton of money on YouTube and stuff like that, but he should probably keep it there, man, because when he gets knocked out, when he fights that wrong dude and he gets knocked out, then what happens? Like you lose a lot more than you're willing to but yeah, I don't. Mayweather's probably get hit in that fight. Maybe, man. I would say the odds on him getting hit in the face in that fight, that would be a high, probably a minus 5 million.
Our guy Angelo here wants to see you and Turtle go in the ring for a sparring match. Turtle, you down to do some sparring with Zoe?
Definitely not.
He's silent on that one.
I wouldn't hit Turtle, man. He's family, man. So I wouldn't hit him. Even then, we would just sit there and talk probably sports for 5 minutes until the round was over.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. What was I gonna
watching your UFC career.
It looks like Vince is having a little bit of a lag there. Zoe, man, we really do appreciate you coming on with us as always. Terrific guest, very insightful, and we really do appreciate you taking time to sit down with us, especially now that you're a UFC star. So,
man, we're not a star yet, man, but I pretty soon, man, pretty soon. This time next year, we'll be a household name everywhere, and a lot of hard work. Big shout out to I gotta say my coaches, Roberto Ramirez, Chicago Fight Team, Paul Reinhardt, my teammates, my sponsors. If you want to follow me, go on Instagram. It's The Real Dream Killer. My new Twitter I just had made like a couple weeks ago is NyQuil Hands. For all my Facebook friends, like I got 10,000 new requests. I am maxed out. I am making a fan page as we speak, and because I can't add anybody else, and I just keep getting friend requests. So thank you guys for having me on, man. And listen, man, just stay with it, man. And if you've been part of my journey, then we know where we're at. We know we got a long way to go, and we'll be there soon, man. Me versus Ngannou, man. Let's call it. Let's start talking about it now.
All right, man. Again, we do appreciate it, Zoe. You have a good night, man. Take care. We'll talk soon. Man, what a great interview there. That was Lorenzo Hood, fresh UFC heavyweight. He's going to be doing big things here in the coming months. His first fight, as he said, is coming up in August. And I'm very excited to see what he has to bring to the table for the brand. I shouldn't say for the brand, for the UFC. I mean, it's an elite thing to be able to make it to the UFC, and for him to be able to perform the way he has and step up and get to that next level is just terrific. We're all really happy for him here at 1252, and I couldn't be happier to, get to interview such a humble guy that's really explained from top to bottom the ins and outs of the business. So that interview there was brought to you by our guys over at Nick and Ivy Brewing in Lockport. We're going to take a second to get a quick word in from them.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show, as well as the 1252 brand, because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend, or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list, or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for a fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
And we're back again, guys. That was a quick word from our sponsor, Nick and Ivy Brewing in beautiful downtown Lockport, Illinois. If you guys have a chance to make it out there, if you're in the area, please do stop out and see them. It's a terrific site, great atmosphere, great people, and most importantly, great beer. I had one here tonight. I was enjoying the Lake Life, one of their blueberry wheat ales that they just released. Had a chance to try that while I was out there Sunday and had to bring a 4-pack home with me. Phenomenal beer, and like I said, great place. So go ahead and check those guys out if you have the opportunity. That was Vince. That was a terrific interview we had there with Lorenzo once again. Just want to say thanks to him. I mean, I know he's a busy guy, and taking the time out of his schedule to join us was huge. So I know we got a few other topics we want to cover here before we wrap the show up. I want to jump right into some baseball. So I'm eager to talk about these Cubs and how they've been performing these last few days, Vince. I don't know about you. I don't know how you're feeling about that. How are you feeling about this Cubs team? Looks like I lost Vince. So I'm going to go ahead and take a second here to give my thoughts on what the Cubs have been doing this last few games. The Cubs have been absolutely outstanding these last few games. It's been unbelievable to see how they've turned things around in just such a, obviously it's a short season. We're only 10-9 after the win today, but hey, that's above 500. It's still early. We're still playing early baseball. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen throughout the baseball season, but I can say for myself being a Cubs fan and some of my family that are Sox fans, at the end of the day, right now, the Cubs got a better record than the White Sox. Even if it is only one game above, they still have a better record. So I'm going to take that in stride. But, I mean, man, you look at the way the Cubs have hit over the last few games today especially. I mean, they went through the entire rotation in the first. scored 10 runs, I believe, in the first alone. That's phenomenal when you look at this team that had like 34 runs through their first stretch of, I want to say, maybe 7 or 8 games, and now you look at what they're doing now. It's almost like they've turned things completely around. So, Vince, you back there with us, brother? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here for now. It's not really sure what's going on. All of a sudden, the connection keeps dropping, but hopefully it's secure right now.
So you want to talk a little bit about these Cubs and how they're hitting? How are you feeling about this Cubs team right now?
Well, here's the thing. We all live in Chicago. It's been windy. The wind was blowing straight out today, and the Cubs hit a shit ton of home runs. They're still not, hitting a bunch of hits and stealing bases and doing things. The other night, they did score a lot of runs, but only, I believe, the Javi grand slam. They still scored 14 runs. But you know what? You don't think that going forward they're going to be able to sustain it when they're living and dying by the home run. I'd like to see stealing. I'd like to see some base hits. But at the end of the day, they're a game above 500, which, you're only 2 weeks in, but and you look at the Yankees and teams like that we thought were going to be killing it, and they're struggling to even hit that rhythm. So we'll see. The offense last year wasn't very good, but in 60 games you don't have that chance to go through the slump and come out of it. The Cubs are a lot of the big core of the Cubs are known to be perpetual second half of the season hitters. So we'll see.
Right.
If they can get to the around 500, it'll be interesting to see what management does. I don't see them adding pieces. I think they're just going to ride it out for whatever they can do this year. And unfortunately, all of us Cub fans are just along for the ride.
Yeah, I do agree with you in that sense. I do think we're along for the ride, unfortunately. I don't think there's going to be any big splash moves that this team's going to make moving forward. I do have to say one thing. Our guys brought it up on Waddle and Sylvie, I believe, yesterday on ESPN 1000. They were talking about how Javi was hitting left. Maybe it was Cap and Hoodie that were talking about it in the morning. He walked up to bat against the Mets the other night. They had a fielder in there, and he was trying to hit. He was trying to pitch. Javi walked up trying to hit lefty, and I get it. He's naturally a left-hander, but come on, man. I mean, there's a time and a place for that. I think I heard Hood say that when you're hitting above 208 or whatever his average is, then maybe we can try that. Then maybe you can talk to me. But to me, it just seems gimmicky. I don't care who you are, and I don't care if it's a position player up there on the mound. That's still a guy that they have enough confidence in, or he wouldn't be there. Our guy Grant saying, have a good night. Great show, guys. Grant, we appreciate you coming out. We'll hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, Grant.
It's one of those things where you get into that cycle of, is it right? Is it wrong? There's a lot of things, a lot of different rule changes and tweaks, we're seeing with this younger generation of baseball. Obviously people under 30 don't watch baseball as much as they used to. I mean, baseball is an older man's game right now. They're trying to change that demographic. So, guys going out there and doing cute little things like trying to hit lefty just for fun. Even, I don't care how much you're up, man. Come on. Cut that out.
Talking as a Cub fan, Javi bet.
Talking as a Cub fan, Vince, I think I lost you. I don't know, man. It's just, to me, it's so gimmicky that it's almost not worth it, and it takes away the integrity of the game a little bit. Not necessarily that left-handed hit, but just some of these little minor rule tweaks in general. And maybe I'm old school. I'm not that old, but I like traditional baseball. And when I see these guys, kind of acting a fool out there, so to speak, it's not something that I necessarily like. But that's to each their own. Everyone has their own opinion about that. And baseball, at the end of the day, is an evolving game, just like any other sport. It's not the same sport that it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. And obviously we make advancements in a good way and in a negative way, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, we have to adapt as fans and be able to understand that the game is going to evolve, and nobody's going to like everything that happens, every rule change, every little evolution. And, Javi walking up there hitting lefty that's not a rule change. You can go up and hit lefty if you want, but it's one of those little gimmicky things that makes me think 10 years ago, would a guy have done that against the same position player, or would he have just got a hit and increased his average a little bit? At the end of the day, I think that you get a lot of guys like that just want to be gimmicky to get their name in the headlines, or, want to get talked about. And I love Javi Baez as a defender. I think he's one of the greatest assets to the Cubs right now, especially when it comes to his ability to turn those little trick plays and stuff like that. But, there's things that Javi's got to do, and he's got to hit more consistently he's got to hit consistently on a consistent basis, as cliche as that sounds, before he can go out there and earn the right to take a swing lefty if he really wants to.
So I'm going to try this one more time. I don't know how many you heard the last time. Javi Baez is at his best when he's having fun. He's struggled to hit for like 2 seasons now. He can hit left-handed. He's done it. I think he has 6 or 7 hits as a batting lefty. Let Javi have fun. Let him go up there and swing left-handed. Let him steal bases. Let him go first to third or first to home when he shouldn't, or make his swipe tags. Whatever it takes to get Javi Baez hitting again, I'm all for it. I don't care about the unwritten rules. I don't care about the old.
But he's not hitting. That's the problem. Is he's not hitting.
Maybe he'll get back to hitting if he's having fun again. Who cares if he's hitting left-handed? They're up 15-2.
Yeah, but the night before he's swinging at sliders in the dirt that are 4 foot away from the fucking plate, man.
That's Javi Baez.
He lives and dies with that power swing. And don't get me wrong, I love to see him crack one out of the park just like any other Cubs fan, but my God, man, some of the stuff he was swinging at, little leaguers wouldn't even take that swing.
Yeah, it kills me when he swings at the pitches over his head, or the ones. I don't know why anybody throws him a fastball anymore. Like if I was pitching,
I would never throw him a fastball. No, I would never throw him a fastball the rest of the year until he proved to me that he wasn't going to swing at that stupid 80-mile-an-hour changeup that was way outside the zone. I'd be throwing that to him every time. Let him strike himself out looking stupid.
He had that season, I believe it was the year Yelich won the MVP. He had that season where everybody thought, oh, man, he's having an MVP year, and it came down to the final couple games. Nobody knew who was going to win it. And I think he wound up breaking his hand or something that year. And, he had that great year. You thought you were finally going to see the progression and the evolution of him as a hitter, as a professional hitter. He did a really good job of year laying off the outside pitches, making them throw him strikes. If he learns to be disciplined at the plate, they're going to have to throw him fastballs. If he can work the count to 2-3-1, 2-0, 3-0, that kind of thing. Fernando Tatis, same thing. When he first came up, they were throwing him outside. He started taking those pitches. Now they have to throw him strikes. So that's all we can hope, is that we see more of that. It came out that they had offered him, 175, 180 million in the offseason, and he passed on it. Following that up with another 200 batting average for the year is not going to get him the money he's looking for. So at this point,
absolutely not.
Find out who he's going to be and what he's going to be, and hope that the Cubs can reset and move forward.
I think he's going to be exactly what we've seen from him. He's going to be an outstanding defensive player and an average at best hitter. That's the reality of the situation. And that's at best. Right now, he's not at his best.
I mean, if he hit 250 but had, 40 home runs and 120 RBIs for the year, you don't really mind as much. He's hitting 250, even 230.
Right.
If he's doing everything else, then you don't mind as much. But when he's striking out through all the, runners in scoring position with 1 out, 2 out, guy at third with 1 out, and he can't even hit a pop fly. He strikes out chasing a bad pitch. That's when I think a lot of Cub fans, I know myself, that's when I get frustrated, because we saw what he can do when he is disciplined and he takes those professional at-bats. So at this point, that's really all we could hope is that, if he's going to be a Cub for a long time, and that goes to is it Chris Bryant? Is it Javi Baez, Anthony Rizzo? I think at this point it's Javi Baez and Anthony Rizzo or Chris Bryant. I don't know that they could sign two of the three unless it's Baez and Rizzo. And if they're going to be here long term, we hope that they can fix what has plagued them now for, what's been 2.5 seasons.
Well, and that's the problem is they've always had that, I don't want to say the World Series or bust mentality, but they've always had that homer or nothing mentality, and you can't sustain success playing like that. You need to build some confidence just getting some base hits, getting some nice ground balls along the foul line. I mean, you've got to be able to hit successfully in this league, and it can't just be a homer every time. You've got to be able to get those nice base hits, nice doubles, and the occasional triple to be successful. And back to what you were saying as far as who they're going to keep on this team moving forward, I really think that it's not going to be Javi. I don't think they can afford, like you said, you've got Rizzo, you've got Bryant, and you've got Javi. I don't think you can afford to pay all three, and I don't think it's going to be Javi that they keep. Bryant's showing that he's developing. He's getting a little bit more mature, looking a little bit smarter when it comes to his swing this year, and he's hitting pretty well so far. I mean, not great, but the season's still young. You can't really look at a guy's stat line. You can look at a guy like Javi and see that he's swinging way outside at fucking curveballs and sliders that are so far out of the strike zone that a little leaguer wouldn't swing at it. It's just one of those things where, do you want the offensive or the defensive consistency? I mean, you can probably go pick up an average. You can go pick up a guy that's a little bit less defensively good when it comes to that position and still, get the same or better hitting. And right. I would almost rather have the same or better hitting out of a guy at that position, and I would be willing to sacrifice just a hair of defense. Don't get me wrong, Javi's an elite defender at that position, but you got to be able to hit the ball consistently. We're going to take a minute here, guys, and run a quick promo here from our other sponsor here at 1252, the Jonathan Darren team over at the Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group, and we'll be back with you in 60 seconds.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
And we're back again. That was a quick word from our sponsor, the Jonathan Darren team at the Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group. If you guys are looking to buy a home in that area, definitely give them a shout out. They're the best. They will get stuff done. I know they've helped out our buddy Fat Mike on a couple houses. Go ahead and get a hold of them if you're looking to buy a home in the area. Before we wrap things up here, Vince, we had some news come out today, very serious news come out today in the Chicago media. An article was written at the Chicago Tribune by Dan Reederer about former Bear Mongo. You see it on the bottom, Mongo Strong. Unfortunately, we came to learn that he was diagnosed with ALS. Our thoughts and prayers obviously out to him. What was your initial reaction to that, Vince?
Well, it's kind of twofold for me. My grandmother, unfortunately, she passed from ALS around 2003. And it obviously they know more about it now than they did then, but they still don't know a lot about it. She took care of my grandfather, and after he passed, she went to the doctor, and they said it was very aggressive, and it was further. They don't really know how long she had it, but within 3 months, she was gone.
Okay, wow.
Went very fast. And then on the other hand, I was fortunate. I got to meet Mongo at the Chicago Slaughter. He was the head coach, and I was brought in to do some player personnel, and I got to help out, was around the team a little bit towards the end of him being there. You never want to hear that about anybody, let alone somebody who, he's really, not to mention, a Hall of Fame career. I heard.
Oh, definitely, no doubt.
His interview today, and on Waddle and Sylvie, and you didn't realize, at least I didn't realize, the two guys in front of him sacks wise for his career were John Randall and Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp had one more sack than he did, but both of those guys were in the 400s or 420, I believe, in tackles. He had over 850 tackles.
Oh, absolutely.
Career. So when you factor all that in, obviously a Hall of Fame career, but his post-playing career has been nothing short of just as epic and just as Hall of Fame, not to sound cliche, but, his not only becoming a wrestling star in the WCW and becoming part of the Four Horsemen and whatnot, but everything he's given the community of Chicago and his restaurant and having people out and just never being too big for anybody, or never not having time for a fan to sign an autograph, to shake a hand, to take a picture. Today's day and age, you see so many of these guys, after they're done playing, they don't feel like they owe it to anybody to take that time for them. And he's a guy that has done that his whole post-playing career. And it's just very, very sad and unfortunate to see not only how hard it's already hit him, but, it really came out of nowhere. Those who know him, I'm sure, have seen it and in his circle. But, those of us who know him as a Bear fan or, whatnot, to see how drastic it's become already, it was definitely a shock to a lot of people. I don't know what your reaction was this morning when you found out.
Oh man, you pretty much summed it up. Just such a great individual, and so tragic when you hear something like that's happened to anyone. And I think the Tribune article was really good. It was a very good interview with him. It's so unfortunate to see it happen to him, and I'll always remember watching some old Bears games with my grandpa, getting to see him on tape play. And it's one of those things. He said he's done so much for the community here in the Chicagoland, and always been so humble, so willing to, take the time to do the little things. And that's something that not a lot of guys post sports do. And he obviously did some broadcasting as well, something that, a lot of us are familiar with his voice from that. And it was, to hear him do that interview this afternoon was a little tough, not going to lie. Obviously we wish him nothing but the best here moving forward, and absolutely going to keep following his story. And it's tragic, man. There's not much more you can say for a guy like that, a legend with such a good career, like you said, wrestling, and what he's done outside of sports. It's very difficult to hear. And, Vince, you shared that personal story that you had with, someone in your family, your grandmother, having ALS as well. I also had a family member who passed away from it in 2011. So it's something that speaks close to home for both of us. And it's not easy, man. It's not a good thing to get. And, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. So nothing but the best for Mongo and his family moving forward. And I think with that, there's no other way we can end this show, man. So
no, I think, before we go, we just want to let everybody know next week we're going to be having a special 1252 pre-draft party here on StreamYard for all of you guys. And we're going to be a full panel. We'll be on here and we'll be previewing the draft on Wednesday night. And then we're actually going to be having a special 2-night, Thursday and Friday night Turtles Take. We'll be following along with the draft, and we'll be going over first round on Thursday and the second round on Friday. And, we'll be on here. It'll be me and you. We'll be talking football. We'll be talking picks. We'll be telling people who was crazy for taking who and who got steals in the draft. And I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait. Draft time is my favorite time of year. I mean, it's just so exciting to see what the teams actually do, what holds true, what was bullshit. And I'm excited to get to debate with our other 1252 brothers here as well as some guests they're gonna be having on the Wednesday show. It's gonna be huge, man. So
Especially
looking forward to that.
Pick number 20.
If the Bears are even there, we shall see.
If the Bears are even there, that is.
We shall see. That's a big if at this point. So I mean, moving forward, I think that we've got a lot to be hesitant about going into the first round. And, as the days count down, it's going to become all the more real as to what the Bears are doing. I mean,
right.
Who knows what they're going to be doing come draft day. So we'll see. Either we're going to mortgage our future or we're just going to take an offensive line player and move on to the next round. We'll see. I personally don't think that our guy Alan here hearing the draft jingle warms his soul. Me too, brother. Me too. So
you hear it, your whole body kind of perks up like, oh wait, hold on, somebody's getting picked. So
we're gonna have a big draft week here coming up, and looking forward to it. Hope you guys tune in. Want to give a shout out again to Lorenzo Hood, UFC Heavyweight. Y'all are gonna be knowing this man's name here in the next year. A lot of things are gonna go well for this man. We've got a lot of confidence here in him here at 1252, and we look forward to seeing what he does here in his first few fights for sure. Great interview with him. Want to say thank you to the John Darren team at Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group, as well as our guy Paul over at Nick and Ivy Brewing out there in beautiful Lockport, Illinois. Want to say thank you to all of you for joining us. We appreciate it. Until next time, guys, take care.
Peace.